I was gonna play this game yesterday. Start posting these things because working at the house, I'm always so filthy afterwards. But I'm also having a tan line from the summer, so I'm always like, should I do a thing where it's like a weekly thing? Is this a tan line or is this dirt?
Which one?
My face is like filthy every time I come home. I'm surprised you haven't said anything.
Well, I think I don't notice because you go straight to shower.
Yeah, there's filth. Absolutely.
Actually, I do notice. I have noticed.
Yeah, no.
You just have like kind of.
My face is all. I look like I worked in a coal mine all day.
Did you?
I did not, but happy. Well, not Friday, but happy. You finally feeling like yourself because I know you've been kind of run
What
down.
a week. Well, actually, what a month. I
What?
feel like this month it just feels really long. Like
Well,
a lot has happened.
I don't think it's long. I think it's fast, meaning like it's been jam packed with so much stuff. With me being gone 2 weeks in a row, a week and a half in a row. To
Like all the kids' sports stuff.
we're
to
wrapping
like
up. You getting sick.
me getting sick.
Yeah.
All the things. But to me, it just feels like a long month. But it also went by fast.
Interesting. So it's a neutral month then at that point. We would
No,
safely
it doesn't
say.
cancel out.
If it feels fast yet it feels long, it means it's normal.
No, it doesn't
Doesn't-
cancel out.
okay.
You can experience both feelings at the same time.
Okay.
And it's valid.
One thing I've learned from being married to for going on 11 years is that
How many good ones?
you can never argue. You can never argue feelings.
You can never argue feelings. First of all, that's rude.
Right. Well, I think it goes with any woman. It's just like,
You can't. Yeah. We're valid in whatever we feel.
But
So
right,
let us feel
But
it.
here on the Next Door Neighbors podcast, we are all facts, not feelings. So this is
Yeah,
a safe place.
okay.
This is a safe place.
But it's a safe place to share my feelings.
So let's put it this way. So you asked me how my golf game was today, and we played 18 holes, and I said, well, on the front 9, it was decent, and on the back 9, it was terrible. So does that mean it was a neutral golf game? No, it was a bad golf game.
No, it was a good and bad golf game.
I shot myself in the foot because my point just proved that it is.
You can have both.
You can have both.
Exactly.
Yeah. Look at me. Well,
See, it's not neutral. It doesn't cancel out.
okay, we get it. The guys are always wrong.
You're wrong once again, and
Yeah.
I'm right. And
Yeah.
I feel good about it.
What's been going on with you?
I
besides
feel
sick?
like, this month, I feel like I've been the only one home for like half the month
Yeah.
because you've been traveling. Hence why there was 2 weeks where we missed the podcast.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Work stuff. I'll show
Alex's
your stuff. I'll
fault
share with you.
completely.
I'll share with you some work stuff.
Yeah.
And it is probably my biggest. Oh no, there's worse things that happen in life, but it was
Oh, we
a
need to
nightmare
talk
for
about
me.
your trip.
Yeah.
But I feel like you were gone so much. Maybe that's why it feels long and short to me because I'm like all thrown off. Usually it'll take like one trip every year, once a year.
Yeah. I don't try to
Unless
travel.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
And this was like so happened that you had a fun trip and a work trip all in a span of like 2 weeks.
Yeah. So I had my first trip was Palm Springs. It was a guy's trip. It was fun. I think I shared that on the podcast. My second trip was a work trip. Ryobi had us come out to South Carolina. And
Which we live in Idaho, so that's quite a.
yeah, it's basically across the country.
It's like an all-day
Flying.
trip.
Yeah.
because you have to take. We don't have any stray shots to the East Coast from
Nah,
Boise, so we always have to have a layover somewhere.
And it's always a layover in Seattle, so you always have to like backtrack and then go forward.
Sometimes it's like
yeah.
Denver,
Yeah.
Dallas.
So this time the layover was. By the way, the trip was fantastic. The team had me come out, me and a couple other influencers that they have on under contract, and they show us some of the latest and greatest they're coming up with. We get to have our hands-on experiences, see what the ideas were, and potential new stuff that they're coming out. Which they're coming out some crazy cool stuff that in the electronics world, but. So the trip was great and the people were great. The transportation to and from was absolute misery. So
By transportation, you mean the flight?
the flight, yeah. The first, it kicked off with a bad start. You were dropping me off at the airport with Harper, and I left my phone in the car. And you drove off.
Whose number did you call me from?
There was
Just a random
just a
lady?
family there, and then I was like, I had to explain to them what happened, so they let me use their phone. I called you. You didn't pick up. As always, I'm seeing you're not wearing your Apple Watch. Are you done with your Apple Watch?
No, I just didn't want to put it on because I was sick, and I hate seeing people because I'm still connected to people who some of my friends who do workouts,
Mm-hmm.
and I hate seeing like, oh, so and so finished a workout, and I'm like sick. I feel like I'm behind, and so if I'm like sick or I'm out of town and I know I won't be working out, I actually don't wear it.
You hate
It's
them?
better like for me mentally.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I used to, I know we're jumping around. I used to, like, I was the one that sold you on the idea
You
of the Apple
did.
Watch because I was like, I love the fact that I'm so productive. And if I'm on the couch and my phone's on the table, I could look, oh, that's not important. That doesn't need to be answered away. And I
But
just
then you're
silence
always
it.
looking at it.
And then it evolves into the fitness world. And you're like, you know, that check mark. You're like, oh, I closed my rings.
You need to.
Fantastic. Oh, I need to go close my rings. And then it turns into this like digital leash that you're on.
It feels like it, and that's why I hate it, and that's why I hate wearing it when I know I won't close my rings.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I know I won't close my rings, I won't even wear it,
And
which is like such a, why am I even wearing it then?
And from the productivity standpoint, it's less productive because you're constantly getting distracted.
You're thinking about it.
And people always say you could silence everything. Yeah, but at that point, you're like, you know that
What's
it's like
the point of it
it's like your
then?
phone glued to your wrist.
Yeah.
So I remember having this like anxiety attack, and I just took it off in the car and I threw it like in the back seat, and I never put it on again. It's been years now, but the part that I'm laughing at the most with you is that you have an Apple Watch and an iPhone, and you are notorious for not answering the phone right away. You're
Well, first of all, I was driving.
okay,
Second of all,
Bluetooth in the car.
I never answer the phone if it's a phone number I don't know, because if it's important, they're going to leave a
But even
voicemail.
with
Because
me-
half the time it's those stupid scam calls.
Right.
And even the 208 numbers are now
Oh,
like
for
scam
sure. No,
calls.
I get it from that.
So I was
side of
like,
things.
I'll just let it go to voicemail.
Yeah.
And then I like saw the voicemail, and half the time they don't leave a voicemail.
Yeah.
So then as soon as I picked up it like, when I heard that voicemail and I heard your voice, I like couldn't comprehend what was happening.
One part of your brain is like, I recognize this. The
I
other
was
part
like,
of your
what?
brain.
Wait a second. Who's calling me? Why is he? Like, it just didn't click until you said, I left my phone in the car. And I was like, oh, he's calling from somebody else's number. It just like, my mind couldn't grasp like what was happening in that moment.
Yeah.
And then you also sent me a text, which then I replied to.
Maybe that's what I need to do. Instead of start calling you,
Just text.
Because I think I've done that on the second time when we were in Florida. We were at the Kennedy Space Center, and then we got disconnected like from each other, and my phone was, I don't remember if it was dead or
It's probably dead
or somewhere else. I think it was dead, and
because you had a hard time charging.
I got
that
with
trip.
the stupid phone. And by the way, this adds to the story.
There's
the phone,
more.
the phone even ties into this. And I did the same thing. Found somebody. I was like, hey, can I use your phone? Call my wife. Called you. By the way, creepy thing. I dialed on this guy's number, and I typed in your number, and it says Irina Mazukin. And I was like, and his wife there was like, how is it that it's pulling up my wife's name? But it's caller ID. Somehow certain phones have that.
Whoa, that is creepy.
It was weird. I was like, excuse me, sir? Sir?
Right in front of his wife.
Where is she?
Yeah. Also, where is she?
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was kind of like the thing. Maybe going forward, I just needed, like, if that ever happens again, just text don't
me.
call, and then call after the text or something.
Maybe so, but
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at with phone calls. I'm like,
Yeah.
ugh, if it's somebody I don't know,
Do you know that I get 6 emails a day, every single day, of somebody from I didn't even know this industry existed. They do bid estimates for you. So I have 6 emails every single day, every freaking day, that automate me and saying like, hey, we do bid estimates.
what does that mean, bid estimates?
Well, I think they think I'm a general contractor, so they
Oh,
think that
yeah.
I'm there. You can hire this third party to do these
that's
estimates for you.
funny.
And I'm like, and you can't unsubscribe from these things. And I'm like,
Because they find you.
what?
Yeah.
Oh, and it's so annoying. Anywho, so I get my layover. So I lose
So
my. I left
you
my
left
phone.
your phone.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was not even on the freeway yet, so
Yeah.
I turned around and like went back through
Yeah. So you came back,
departures.
and I was like, picked it up. I was like, off to a good start. Fortunately, TSA, everything was
You
great.
jinxed it when you
Yeah.
said that.
Oh my god. So I fly into DFW, and it's kind of, it's already in the evening. It's like 9 or something like that. My next flight. And they get us boarded on the plane, and then they were like, hey, we're having some kind of technical anomaly with the plane. We're going to get an expert on here. Expert comes on. We're waiting. He's like 30 minutes. And then they're like, it's going to be another 30 minutes. Then another 30 minutes. And now we're sitting at an hour. Then he goes, another 30 minutes. And then we finally get to the 2-hour mark. They're like, we have to get you guys off the plane. Get us off the plane. At that point, it's already like a little bit after 10. No more flights are leaving DFW. So I'm sleeping at the airport. first time. Well, I slept in the airport in a foreign country, but this is my first time like in the States sleeping in the airport. Okay, fine. Next flight is 6 a.m.
And why did you decide to sleep at the airport?
Well, it was at that point, by the time we got to the people who reroute your flight, they, I'm in line of 150, 200 people from the flight. So I'm like, well, I'm going to stand in line. It's going to be midnight. My next flight is 6 a.m. If I go get a hotel, by the time I get to the hotel, by the time, even if I even get a room, because all these people are going to try to get a room, I might as well just try to get a few more hours of sleep here. Mm-hmm. So I go find a little, it's funny, DFW has this like McDonald's sponsored play area. Like,
really?
Yeah, it's like one of those ones that you see at the mall where it's just like these like plastic big things. Yeah. Like it's like a big, wavy thing. Like it's nothing they can climb, like just little basically pedestals. So I crash on one of those little couches where parents sit to watch them. Nobody was there, obviously. And cool, wake up the next day. Obviously, have a terrible night's sleep because the airport, there's like, they come and clean it at night. So there's like all these vacuums and machines and these gals, that are like
chatting. It's not comfortable either.
Yeah, and they're making announcements over the thing. Terrible night's sleep, waking up 20 times a night. And so cool, wake up, get on the flight, fly into South Carolina, and everything's good. The trip was great. Flying back out of Palm Springs, get on the plane. First of all, they dropped me off at the airport. We got ahead of schedule.
Right, you said Palm Springs.
Sorry, South Carolina. Flying out of South Carolina, they dropped me on the airport off early because we overestimated how long it would take us, to do the rest of the filming that they were there with the team. And so we got done early. And originally I was supposed to be at the airport like 3 or something like that. I got to the airport at like 1, right? So, okay, I'm just, there's a bar there, get some dinner, lunch, whatever. So finally get on the airplane after being at the airport for close to 4 hours before takeoff. And I never told you this, Kyle, did I? Oh, I did. I mentioned a few things. Yeah. And so we get on the airplane and I'm excited to go. And they're like, sorry, there's a thunderstorm in Houston in DFW. And they're going to have us wait here for 30 minutes. Then ground traffic control says, or air traffic control, they're like, well, it's going to be another 30. And so basically wraps up to sitting on the plane for 2 hours. Again. Then they were like, okay, cool, we're good to take off. We'll take off in 45 minutes. So almost 3 hours later, we get to finally take off.
All this time you've been sitting on the airplane. You guys, they didn't make you deplane?
No, we just kept sitting there. So then my phone charger, I don't know where I put it. I think I checked it in my bag, but it's not anywhere to be on me. And then I have my laptop because I was like, I didn't use it much, so the battery's going to last me a very long time. So I finally decide to, this is before even getting on the airplane. I decided to go buy a phone charger, which of course the airport is going to charge you triple, quadruple the amount. So I paid $45 for a charger. Plugging it in. Buy
that $10 on Amazon.
Right, absolutely. Probably a 2-pack for 10. Mm-hmm. I can't return it because they're like, hey, they're like, you already opened the box. Apparently, airport has the worst return policy. So I am already at like maybe 50%. So I'm like, okay, not a big deal. I just won't watch anything on my phone on the airplane because the American Airlines doesn't have like screens on the thing.
Wait, you said you tried to return it because it didn't work.
Because it didn't work, yeah. And because when they're like, oh, it's probably just your phone, and I was like, probably, I don't know. My phone's been like on the verge of dying for the longest time, and so I get on the airplane, shut my phone off, so I could like get an Uber back when I get back in town. We finally, after 2 hours and 45 minutes, get to take off. We take off. We land into DFW. And of course, DFW is giant. You have to take the monorail from like certain gates, kind of like Seattle. Like you have to so I get off, I book it. I'm hauling through the airport, running my butt off, get to my gate, and they already closed the doors, right? Now so they closed all the doors. And I'm like, they're like, sorry.
Because it's like,
they're like,
no
the
part
plane's
of it was
here.
your fault.
Yeah, exactly. The plane's here. It's the storm thing. Everything got delayed and pushed. So cool. I'm staying here. I
They wouldn't even let you on, even though the plane was still there.
The plane's there. When the doors close, you're
That's
done.
it.
They don't reopen the doors. They can only do it once, I guess. I don't know. So I get in line for getting rerouted. Now, keep in mind, DFW just had the storm, so every plane was grounded. So everybody at the entire airport is delayed.
Trying to find a way to get home.
Exactly.
Or wherever they're trying to
Every
get to.
flight is either delayed a few hours because they were there early enough, right? Like the people who were there in the middle of the storm, they're like, cool, you're probably going to fly out in 3 hours kind of thing. And so everybody's trying to get rerouted. I get into this line of American Airlines to get rerouted. It's probably 200 people. It's wraps around the hallway kind of thing, like deep. I got my laptop, and there's a gentleman that's walking up and down the line saying, hey, to save you on time, keep in mind, at this point, it's like already 10 o'clock or something like that. They're like, hey, at night, to save you on time, you can get on the American Airlines app, and whatever they reroute you in this line, you can do the same thing on the app. So I go, fantastic idea. I get out of line, set up my laptop, and try to go on American Airlines to get a reroute. The reroute that's suggesting to me, it only presents to me like one reroute, is the next day at night, in the evening. So I have to stay an extra day at DFW. I do not want to do that. So I hop back in line.
You should have done that while you were in line.
I should have done that, hindsight. Now, that wouldn't have gotten me back to Boise anytime sooner. It just means
true.
like less staying in line. I get back in line. I'm standing in line, maybe moved one person, line's forever. Then I have this clever idea. I go, this is so annoying. You know what I'm going to do? Oh, because my perspective on it, I was like, if I get in line, then maybe they could see flights that I can't see, right? So I get back.
They can always try to.
Sure. So I get in
something.
line, and the line's barely moving. Like, we're standing there, and it's a snail of a line. And I go, okay, screw this. I'm just going to buy a new plane ticket through another, flight by another airline, and, either absorb the cost or have Ryobi pay for it. They're really great to me. So I was like, maybe we'll do that. Especially that they'll understand, because it's like, I'm not going to spend another day here. So I get out of line. I go post up, get the laptop up, go on kayak.com, find a flight, 10 a.m. Cool, because my app didn't show that. Try to buy it, get my credit card information in. Sorry, this flight's not available. Find another flight through Kayak. Sorry, this flight's not available. Go to alaska.com. Sorry, this flight's not available. Go through American Amex Travel. Sorry, this flight's not available. I go, okay, so my mind rationalized, okay, American Airlines, because of rerouting, pulled all these tickets that were for sale to reroute all these people.
Not even American, but like probably all the
All
other
of them,
airlines,
all of
because if everybody was grounded
Yeah.
for that long
Everybody, yep.
period of time.
So I get back in line again. And the line barely moved. I mean, it's still moved, but it barely moved. So I'm standing in line for probably another hour and a half. Finally, I get to my turn. And the gal goes, now keep in mind, my phone at this point right now, because I've had it turned off and I would only message you like just updates. My phone's probably like 15% or something, like 20% battery life. Charger doesn't work. Phone doesn't charge. I got irritated. I already ordered a new phone in Boise that's getting delivered kind of thing. No charger for my laptop, no charger from my phone. Okay. And no flight out. No options to buy to fly out. So finally, it's my turn. I get there and the gal goes, Boise, huh? I was like, yep. She's like, ooh. And I was like, oh no. And keep in mind, I keep hearing person after person getting a standby ticket.
Yeah.
And I saw one guy in front of me who was on standby and there was no room. So I had to get another standby and another standby.
That's usually, the case, especially if, it was such a fiasco,
Right.
and like lots of people are trying to get on flights. Usually if you're a standby on like any kind of full flights, you won't get on.
Oh my gosh. So I'm so exhausted. I've been in an airport in South Carolina for 4 hours. I've got delayed sitting on an airplane for 3 hours. And then we flew for another 3 hours. And it's late already and I'm just tired. I was like, I'm fatigued by all this.
Right.
And the gal goes, ooh. And I was like, oh. She goes, is there any place? She was really nice. She was like, is there any place in Idaho you would want to have a layover? And I go, Idaho has one major airport. That is it. There's nowhere to go. Salt Lake, maybe, but that's, still, I don't want, but beggars can't be choosers. So she goes, I found a flight and it's tomorrow morning. I go, that's great. She goes, but you have 7 connecting flights.
You have 7 layovers?
I have 7 layovers. I didn't even know you can get to 7 layovers. She goes, yeah, you're going to Charleston, and from Charleston you go into so-and-so.
It's
and then
basically
from
the
so-and-so
only
you go
route
to
they could
so-and-so.
find that like will eventually take you to Boise, which would be like a whole day.
She said,
like
she
2
said,
days.
she said it's 23 hours of flight.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Not like just time-wise, but just like in the air. Well, maybe it's full flight time. I think that's because it can be 7 hours of.
It's probably with layovers.
It's probably with layovers. So I would still get home the next day, kind of thing, or in 24 hours after that.
Right. You just be on an airplane.
And I go, oh my god! I was like, I can't do 7 layovers. Like I really can't. Like I don't know. There's no options, but I just can't. I might as well just stay here for a few days till everything cools off and then fly home. Maybe get a part-time job,
Well, I'm here.
Yeah, claim residency here.
Meet some, there's like a lot of famous YouTubers in
I was
Texas.
like, maybe we could do a collab or something.
Go meet Dude Perfect.
Dude Perfect. So somehow she printed something off and she's checking the ticket she printed off. She's staring at the computer. She's looking at my driver's license, the ticket, back and forth. And I go, what's going on? She goes, okay, I don't know how this happened, but I found a flight. It's tomorrow morning, and it's first class. And I was like, are you sure it's a real ticket? She goes, I think so. And I was like, has this ever happened before? She goes, never. And I go, don't touch another button.
Print, print.
And she gives me the ticket. She goes, go now, before something changes. And so I'm counting my lucky stars. I'm spending the night still at the airport. The worst night, probably worse than the first night I sleep, because I couldn't actually find a full bench to lay on. So it was one of those like individual seats with an armrest. And I'm 6'2", but even if you're 5'5", there's no way to actually get your full body in there. So
because there were so many people there.
Yeah, all the people, night? Everybody already got the a bench or something. But I tried getting a hotel. All the hotels are booked out that are close enough to the airport, and the next hotel is like a 45-minute drive outside of the airport.
She's like, that's not really worth it.
That's not worth it. And so I end up sleeping on the floor. I use my boots as a pillow. And because the airport's so bright, even at night, that I had to crawl underneath the seats that people sit on, waiting for their flight, just so the light doesn't go into my eyes. I woke up probably 60 times in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
10 minutes at a time of a snooze. Finally woke up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, couldn't go back to sleep. And I'm just pacing up and down the hallways. I get on my flight, and as I'm scanning that ticket, I'm like, you know what's going to happen? The gal's going to be like, sorry, I'm not picking you up on this ticket. Like the ticket's like.
Or like somebody else already scanned
It's an error.
Yeah.
Like what I was afraid of is that's like a double booked thing.
Yeah.
Like it's somebody else. So here I am. I've never flown first class. And I get the first seat, and this is why it sounded so shady, because she found this seat that was not available on a flight that's not available, and it's first class. She goes, it's seat 1, first row, first seat.
You're like, how does that even happen?
I go, that sounds way too good to be true. I was expecting to scan it, and it turns out it's somebody else's seat. Ma'am, that guy's my seat. And somehow thank you, Mr. Mizuki. And I was like,
I'm safe.
I can come in. Like I could come in and sit. Like I was such a peasant that I didn't even use any of the amenities of first class. Like the lady that sat next to me, older gal, she was like, she had a full glass wine glass. They had this really nice meal. Mm-hmm. I just slept the entire night.
Finally sleep.
I was like, I have some leg room, and I can
actually recline.
I could recline. I didn't think I even used a recliner. I just used the leg room, and I just like laid over, and I was in finally like a decent sleep. It was absolute misery. So when I came home, not only did I sleep there, because I flew in like Saturday the next day at like 1 o'clock or something like that, 2 o'clock, and I came home and I took a nap with Harper for like maybe 3 hours, and then on top of it, when I went to bed, when I went to bed early, like I slept for another 10 hours or something like that. It's
like your body needed to catch up.
I was so donezo.
You looked really
It was absolute misery. I don't know if it gets any worse than that. Sleeping in your flight and sleeping out of your flight, like flying in and flying out.
It's just crazy that both flying there and back were like that for you. back obviously was worse.
Through the same airport.
Through the same airport. It's bad luck.
It's
Was that your first time having a layover in Dallas? I feel like we've had a layover in Dallas before.
No, I mean, we've never got a hotel in Dallas.
No, I mean just a layover.
Oh, I'm
Have
sure.
we?
I'm sure it's happened before.
Or was it Houston? Might have been Houston.
But Ben Ueda, great channel, Homemade Modern. He last time we were at an event with Ryobi, he flew in through DFW, and I don't know if it was a storm thing. I think it was a storm as well. He had to get a car to drive him to South Carolina
From
Dallas, and they got him an Uber, so he slept in an Uber. And I didn't even know that Uber can do these long hauls.
I didn't know Uber could even do that. That's a long drive. Also, somebody told me that lived in
No, it was
Texas.
Charleston. I think it was Charleston because Charleston's closer, right?
Charleston's still South Carolina.
It was so, okay, so never mind. So yeah, it was DFW. Yeah, it was DFW.
So Dallas?
Yeah, Dallas. So
dang, that's a long drive.
Yeah.
But somebody told me that lived in Texas that Dallas, for whatever reason, is notorious for having these crazy thunderstorms that everybody gets grounded for. Like, so that's just like a thing that happens when you fly through Dallas. So always be aware.
When I told the team at Ryobi that this happened to me flying in and flying out, and this happened in Bend, the team was like, "We're never rerouting anybody through Dallas,
Yeah,
ever."
like,
And I was like,
bad
"Please,
luck.
never do that." And they were kind too, because the Jess, the VP of marketing, he messaged me like the following day. He goes, "Dude, I heard you had a terrible fly out, like of another, sleeping at the airport." He's like, "I'm so sorry." He's like, "Why didn't you get a hotel? We would have covered it." And I was like, "I tried. There was no hotel. There's no room at the inn.
There's no room.
I got the Jesus treatment,
Yeah. Sleeping on the floor.
Yeah.
Using your boots as your pillow. You poor thing.
Yeah.
And it's funny because on my end, like, because you kept turning your phone off, I had no idea like where you were, what time you were coming, because you never told me which flight, or like you said, I'm going to fly out 10 in the morning, but I didn't know if that was like maybe, or if that's like something that you're going to like try to do. Cause it didn't sound like you were sure.
Why don't you say, when I told you that my flight got canceled and I'm spending the night at the airport again, tell me what your response was.
I said, "Oh no, honey."
No,
and then I said, "Well, I have a birthday party at 1
No,
p.m.
you said, "Oh no, I have a birthday party I have to go to tomorrow."
At 2 p.m. So
At that point, I turned my phone off. I was like, I am just going to be cool as a cucumber right now and not
I was
let
like, how rude. How rude of you to get your flight grounded.
Yeah.
And make me miss my birthday.
I clearly told you I have a birthday party I need to go to.
Well, also, I was planning this birthday, so that would have been really, like, I was bringing stuff to this birthday. So it would have been really rude if I, like...
Oh, you orchestrated the birthday?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was planning it.
I didn't know that.
So, I mean, it would have been fine. Obviously, people understand. It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
Thank you for understanding that it wasn't my fault.
No, it's not your fault. But like, part of me was, I didn't know what to do, because I was like, should I try to find a sitter, or is he going to be home in time? Like, I just didn't know. And because you turn your phone off and then you were flying, I didn't want to keep like texting you like, "Hey, did you leave?" I think I did text you, "Hey, did you end up like flying out yet?" And you didn't reply. And I was like, either his phone is off or he's like mid-flight, but there's no way of me knowing if you're coming back.
It's hilarious to me that there's a potential of me not being home for another 2 days because of connecting flights, and you're like, how do I make it to this birthday party?
How do I still make it
that
to
I
this
gave
birthday?
everybody instructions to come to at a place, and I'm sure they'll have been just fine.
They would have been fine, but you just feel bad. And also, I was
But you did not feel bad
I
about
felt
it.
very bad for you. That's why after I texted that to you, I think I followed up with, "I'm so sorry you're going through this," or something like that.
No, you did
Yes,
not.
I did.
No, you did not.
I did.
No, you did not.
I will show you the message, because I felt so bad for you. And I didn't want you to think that I was going to like, that's all I was thinking about.
Did you send me like a proper corporate email where you're like, it's please accept our condolences for the tragedy that was outside of our control?
Yes. Not my fault. Oh, right here. I said, "I'm so sorry you have to go through this again. So frustrating."
When did you send me this?
It was right after I sent the birthday thing.
Because
I felt guilty.
You stewed on it a little bit.
I was like, "Oh, I feel bad."
I was cool as a cucumber the whole time. You know what I did is
Did you take some deep breaths?
No, And listen, I'm in the best place of my life, mentally, and because everything's been finally paying off, like in terms of like all the work of meditation, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But in line, as I kept going in line and out of line, trying to buy a ticket, try to figure out how to charge my phone, I kept changing my expectations. So I completely changed. What's helpful is as I was flying out of Boise, I downloaded a book on Audible called "The Art of No, no the Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck."
I thought you already read that.
I finished it on my way to that was to Palm Springs. That's what I read it.
Oh.
So, but because it was just only a week and a half that I went through that book, the whole premise with that book was it's not necessarily that you don't care about stuff and go like, who cares? I don't care about that. It's more of like we get riled up by things that are probably not that important. They're not life changing. Mm-hmm. So if we so what he's saying is, and for pardon my language, he's like, the subtle art of not giving a fuck is the fact that we are giving too many fucks about things that don't matter. Like, my car broke, it's like what I couldn't get the new 2022 model car because it's on back order.
It's
because
like the
of
first world problems thing.
But then he breaks it down into either smaller stuff, right? Because then he says like once you start looking at partially like the optimistic side, but he goes, instead of looking for what the thing is that's not going wrong, think about what that thing is not. Mm-hmm. And so like by me having a layover, I was like, well, I'm still gonna get home. And then I kept reevaluating through that perspective of like, what is good news for me? So finally, after the second time I get back in line, I go, okay, the good news would be for me is if they have a flight that they could see that I can't see. And then the good news is if I don't have if I don't have a standby, but I actually have a ticket. Mm-hmm. And even if it's not till the next day in 24 hours or something like that, then at least I have perspective and I could plan around that. So you kind of keep constantly reevaluating, not for what the news is, but what for the news is not. Like you're still going to get home. It just looks a little bit different. And not at one point, like, would you have called me and be like, oh, Alex is probably going to be really stressed. It's like, no, I'm just exhausted and I'm, tired. I'd love to find a good bench to sleep on.
I'm proud of you that you stayed calm and cool.
It was great.
I feel like I maybe would have cried a few times.
There was a gal in line. 2 people behind me cried.
I think I would have been crying by
then.
And especially if you have like ew. Somewhere in ew, ow.
I was like, your mascara's running.
You like give her a tissue. Here, girl, you need some.
Nobody likes an ugly cry.
Yeah. I feel like if you have somewhere important to go and you're like missing an important event, like a wedding or like
3 people in line with a wedding,
a funeral, I don't know, anything like big. Yeah. It's so sad to like be missing it and you're just stuck at the freaking airport. I would be so sad.
Yeah, I completely agree. But based off of this book, what I took away from it was a wedding, if it's like your daughter getting married off. I'm
sure they would do everything they could, like the flight, travel agents.
No, but if there's no flight, there's no flight. Yeah. They're not going to be like, oh, your situation is different than this situation. That's not a thing. That's absolutely not a thing.
I think at that point, you would have to ask actual individual like passengers.
Can I trade you?
They can have your ticket.
And then, good luck with that. But apart from your child getting married off or you have a live organ that needs to get somewhere, you know what I mean, for a transplant, there's nothing, you know what I mean? There's nothing after that. You just have to be like, well, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Like if, heaven forbid my mother or father passed away, it would be devastating to be like, I didn't say goodbye. But then you have to look at it from a different perspective. You go, well, if they already passed away, this is a very dark place to look at it and very cold to look at it. Maybe I'm wrong, but the way I think the subtle art not giving a fuck is mentally you go, okay, well, clearly I can't leave here. Like there's no flights and there's no plan Bs because even if I got a rental and I drove, I still will be there multiple days late. Mm-hmm. So then you kind of go, well, they passed, they're resting, they're not in pain anymore. I will still fly in and visit the thing. You know what I mean? Like it's different than then like they're on the deathbed and they just want to say goodbye. And you're like,
oh my gosh,
that's a different conversation.
so
That's a
devastating.
different conversation because that stuff traumatizes you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, I wasn't there and they
I
just
didn't
want to say,
make it.
I didn't say goodbye. But when somebody already passed, then you go, well, there's time continues and there's nothing I could do by me getting there when they're already passed and just mourning with everybody else. Yes, it would be beneficial for me and others, but this is not going to traumatize me kind of thing. There's nothing that I lost out of this versus like, I think if it's like Harper getting married off or the boys getting
Could you
married off,
imagine? Yeah,
then you
missing their
go,
wedding.
I feel like I was robbed of that memory
That
of
moment.
that moment.
Yeah.
That's a different conversation.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's plenty of people there who are going to these like big events, like weddings or.
But like cousins getting married, like there's 3 gals, there were all 3 or 4 gals, like a couple of people behind me that they were going to a wedding, but it didn't sound like
a daughter.
It's
or
a daughter.
son.
It's like a cousin.
Oh,
you
so
know,
was it,
or
like
or,
not.
or a friend kind of thing.
I feel like if you're going to a wedding of a daughter or son, you would be there multiple days earlier, if not a week earlier. So
I think
that
so,
shouldn't
too.
matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, if
The wedding's tomorrow, you're not flying.
you're
in
not
today.
flying out
Yeah.
the day before for sure. So
Right.
maybe that doesn't happen as often as we think.
Yeah, that's the way I kind of looked at it. Is like, I think based off of this book is like there's a lot of things that are just they suck, but they're not that important than
Yeah.
other things.
You know what? I think I feel like I'm pretty good at doing that on a daily basis, like of just not putting weight on things that shouldn't like have weight.
Yeah,
I feel like
you do a good job.
But for some reason, airports give me so much anxiety. And you know this because when we flew to Greece last summer, I don't know why. I just like, I have this like palpable like tension in my body. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's just like because airports in general just have this like buzz of anxiety and you're here like people, you know, there's like people everywhere and you're scared you're not going to make it. And there's always this tension of like, am I going to make my flight? Am I going to be late? Am I going to have, you know, I don't know what it is, but airports give me so much anxiety.
So you are not the easiest person to travel with. You're the most easiest going person in
That's
this
what I'm
world,
saying. I don't know what it is.
but it's not that part of the traveling where like I could see you're anxious and making the gates and all that stuff. It's only partial because everybody,
the other part?
everybody experiences that. But with you, somehow, for the majority of the time, I'm very cautious with my words right now because I don't want to make it like a blanket statement. But for the majority of the time that you and I have been on airplanes together, if there is a complication, sure, you know, flight delays or making it on time to the gate, that's a normal thing. Everybody has it. But with you, it's always this trifecta that's the most consistent. I want to find coffee, I need to use the bathroom, and my stomach hurts.
Yeah. I usually have a mix of all three.
All 3, consistently every flight.
That's true. But why is that like complicated? That's easy.
Because you put that on top of like, cause
The
when I fly, I go, cool, I'm going to get a drink on the plane, watch a movie.
Yeah.
And I'm just hearing from you, like I need coffee. I need to pee. I'm going to pee my pants because there's no bathroom close by or there's a line or my stomach hurts.
I do have to pee all the time.
And my stomach hurts. And when you tether that to, we're getting close to missing our like gate or we're too far from the gate.
Okay, we need to
where's
back
that
up.
gate? Then you
Because-
kind of go, okay, this is a little much. Like, why is it that I'm like, this is every single time?
Okay, let's back up because if we're running to a gate, I'm never going to be like, hey, let's stop by and get coffee. I've never done that.
Facts, not feelings.
It's more like if we're sitting and we're just waiting for our airplane for like another 20, 30 minutes. Well, of course. Why
Yeah.
not? Let's
But
go
then
get some coffee.
You're
And then
getting
let's
coffee,
go to the bathroom.
and then like my stomach hurts.
And then the stomach
Do you
pain
see how
will
that
start.
all trickles down?
It's just like, it's all this like cycle. It's a cycle.
Oh, and then I'm hungry, but then your stomach hurts right after that. Or
And
the
then I
stomach
don't
hurts
know
right
if I
after-
should eat or like wait.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, that's my daily life, babe.
It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen at home.
You just don't see it because I don't think I verbalize it because I could just go pee at our house.
Or
I
get
could get coffee. You know, you just when we're traveling, you see it because I have to ask you, be like, hey, hun, let's stop here.
They
so I can get
handcuff us.
coffee.
They handcuff us.
Also, I do the same thing when we go on a road trip. I want coffee the minute we leave the house.
And then you need to pee the minute.
And then I have to leave.
And then I'll go, hey, there's a porta potty right there because there's a construction site. Like,
And I
ew,
go,
no.
Ew, no.
But you have no problem going to a porta potty at a children's football game.
Because there's literally no other option.
There's a gas
I think
station
the
a quarter
problem-
mile down the street.
I'm not going to get in my car and go to the gas station.
And you're not going to go
I
in
need to see my son play football, babe.
Sure. Okay.
I think the problem is if I know there's another option, like if we're driving and I know, sure, there's a porta potty, but if you keep going, like we haven't even left the car yet, there'll probably be like a gas station later
We
on.
went from, when we were in Orlando and we're going to the Space Kennedy Space Center, you needed to pee. And the way you told me is, I'm going to pee my pants for...
Like 30 minutes.
You told me you needed to pee badly an hour ago. And then we hit the stretch where you get into the NASA thing. And there was no gas stations for a solid hour. Like,
yeah,
I didn't know.
Was weird.
I didn't
That
know
was
this
weird.
either. I didn't know that this is what the road trip is going to look like. But there was no gas stations for
They don't
an
have
hour.
any rest areas.
No
It's
gas
weird.
stations, no rest. So I even made a comment. I was like, what would happen if you're on this road and this highway and there's somebody ran out of gas? Like you
Yeah.
didn't plan. It's a solid hour drive before the next gas station or rest area or building and an hour ago you told me you're going to pee your pants. So I was expecting you there. You're like, I am going to explode right now. I'm either going to pee my pants here or go squat like on the side of the road. Mm-hmm. And I was still blown away that you still didn't go like find some like a tree and squat down.
Well, I was waiting to get into Starbucks so I could get coffee.
I am blown away. Your levels of priority are next level.
I was like, well, if I have to pee anyway, and I also want coffee.
And that thought when you go,
Well, let's just like kill two birds with one stone. We go to the coffee shop.
Makes 100%
I
sense.
run to the bathroom and then we go get the coffee.
It's the most efficient outline. Absolutely.
I don't know how
Here's
I
what I
held it
understand
in.
is if coffee makes somebody pee and they want to pee so bad that their stomach hurts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you be like, don't even mention anything liquid because I can't even bear anything to even wrap my mind
I don't know
around.
if I've ever had that. Like don't talk about like trickling water or I'm gonna have to pee soap. Like that's never really bothered me. So I don't know. And you know me.
Guys are made in a very special, beautiful way.
Beautiful.
That one can only
And
be patient.
oh, there's even a better.
People ask me why I read all these brain books. Just how to deal with you about these topics.
Guilty. Well, tell the people what's even worse about my habits is that maybe 50 to 60% of the time I don't even finish my dang coffee. And that's
I'm cool as a cucumber.
that's
That is
the story.
I'm cool as a cucumber. I can't tell you how many times I find a coffee, iced coffee,
In the
that you
fridge.
want it so bad in a fridge.
I know.
And I don't
know what's wrong with
And
me.
here-
I love the idea of it and then I drink it. No, I mean there are times where I do finish it, but maybe 50% of the time I just can't.
Okay,
And I
so
don't know
50%
why.
of the time you can. I understand that. Maybe your stomach hurts. Maybe you need to go pee or something like that. Now let me ask you this.
The trifecta.
Let me ask you this. In your honest opinion, how many times have you finished the said coffee that you put in the refrigerator?
Like maybe 5%.
I think you're being very generous when you're saying 5%.
Like 0%.
I don't think there's been a time that I could recall that you go, oh, my coffee's still here that I put in the fridge. Let me finish it. You're like, oh, it's probably gross already. You're like, it doesn't have.
Oh, it doesn't have any more ice in it. Ugh. True. All these facts are true. And I admit it. But I'm going to keep doing it.
And I'm going to keep reading brain books to try to keep myself cool as a cucumber.
Oh my gosh. I do this on road trips too. And we leave the house immediately.
Do you remember how irritated I used to get? Because I think
You did get really irritated.
I'm so much better because I'm venting right now. But in the reality of being married to you for 11
You've
years.
been really good the last few
I
years
just
about
kind
not
of go, okay, she's a different
rolling your eyes
species
at
than
me.
I am. But I used to get so bothered because I used to be a time watcher where I'm like, okay, so if we're going to the cabin or whatever, like, okay, it's going to be 2 hours. Okay, that'll be on pace. Hopefully there's no traffic. I'm already fueled up. Everybody, we left at the right time. We get the thing and go, ooh, is there a Starbucks? And I'm like,
You're like, no, we're already going to be late.
that's going to put us back 15 minutes.
Which is funny because like the problem is you already set this like goal in your head, even though it's just McCall. We don't really have like a deadline to be there.
Yeah.
But because in your head, you had already made this this is the hour we're going to be there.
Yeah.
Anything that happens to delay that is going to like bother you.
Yeah.
And that's what it was like for a good portion of our marriage until
let the people know you never got hit.
I never got hit.
Say it confidently so they believe it. If they listen to audio, they want to believe it. It helps if you nod your head like, I never got hit.
I never got hit. Oh, sorry. I'm supposed to shake my head.
yeah. I never got hit. And I never, using a sentence like, and I never got hit.
And then I never got hit.
That's a clear one. It's like, yeah, she got hit.
I feel like you were bothered by it, but then there was a period of time where you were like, and to me, I didn't realize, and I never could like sympathize with you, or I never could really understand your thought process of like, we need to be there at this time because we're leaving at this time. We have to get there in the 2-hour window. To me, I'm like, we can get there whenever we get there.
Well, that's me now after reading enough brain books. And
yeah, now you know with like 3 kids, we're never going to get there.
Well, I think
when we want.
I think for a certain personality type, and I'm not, would you say I'm type A? I don't think I'm type A.
No, you just
I'm type A adjacent.
Adjacent, yeah. You like organization. You like doing things in an orderly fashion. You like having these time like constraints, if you will, and following this timeline.
I have checklists.
You do.
And it's
you're
satisfying.
Good at them.
It's a dopamine hit that I think I get.
Yes.
We all, when we cross off our to-do
that.
list, it from an ADD perspective, you know, I think you're the one that mentioned it is like, because you listen to some podcasts, people are talking more about ADD or ADHD is people with that, they're constantly craving dopamine hits.
Because they don't get the natural amount of dopamine that
Correct.
people without ADHD and ADD get. And so like, which makes so much sense because you and Beckham are the same.
Right.
And you both do that where you like, you crave this like newness or change or something like that's why both of you are like always so passionate about your next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes total sense to me. But that must be why the time thing was like you hit that dopamine. You got that dopamine rush because you hit that
time marker
and you're like, oh, I did it.
I shaved 6 minutes off the
like it's almost this like race.
When we were in Orlando and we're driving back from the Space Kennedy, is it Space Kennedy Space Center,
yeah.
And it's already
NASA.
Late, you know, it's in the evening already, and plug into Google, you know, the navigation, how long it'll take us to get home, and it's like 2 hours. And then it's like, actually it was like an hour and like 50 minutes or something like that. And then we hit traffic. Here's how crazy my brain goes. I was like, and then we get out of traffic and it set us back by an extra like 9 minutes or something like that. And
I'm going to shave off this 9 minutes.
I need to shave it off. So the whole time I kept staring at that marker that says time of estimate of arrival or time of duration.
Seeing if it would change.
And it rolled back like a minute. And I was like,
oh, I can do this. That's so funny because that doesn't bother me at all unless I'm late to something.
Mm-hmm.
I do hate being late. I get this like irritability and anxiety, which even if it's like I told somebody I'd be there at 6 and it's like 6:01 and I'm like almost there. I hate that feeling. I told somebody I would be there, but I'm not. Anyway, but I don't get that just from like that rush, just from like driving home.
You know who are the worst people in this world? People who they say things like 6-ish, 4-ish. Let's meet up 4-ish. What's 4-ish? Is it 4:01, 4:10,
or like
4:30?
4:30? Yeah, I don't know of many people that do that though.
Oh, I met those satanic.
Are you friends with them anymore?
No, I cut those people. I cut toxic people out of my life.
That is a toxic trait.
Rules are there to regulate the fun. Okay?
Absolutely, and I will stand by that. I was always a rule follower.
Yeah.
If you know me, you know.
Now you're a heathen.
You.
Yeah.
Are not. It's funny, actually. Now that I think about it, you're kind of a anomaly because you like the like organization and following like a timeline and a pattern and having your schedule and your lists, but you're not really a rule follower.
No, because I question those rules.
Because you question them. But it's interesting because usually people who have that trait also have the rule follower trait, right? Which is what makes them of the type A.
Yeah.
And you don't have that side to you.
I always thought type A's were like overbearing, like it has to be their way or no way.
No, I think that'd be interesting to like actually dive into that because I always thought type A was just more of, yeah, you want things done a certain way
Yeah.
And it's like my way or the highway, which is kind of what you're saying. But I wonder if there's more to it than that of like that personality.
Yeah, I think I think the same way as I've grown to become more patient, I think the same way I'm challenging, because I've never really challenged them before, because I would kind of adopt the nature, the nurturing that I've kind of come up with, whether it's religious, political, or whatever. Socioeconomical things were like, okay, well, this is what it is. And then after being more exposed to more different side of the story, of different perspectives, then it allowed for that part of my brain to go, well, how do you know that's true? Or how do you know that's that important? And so at that point, it allowed for me to kind of question certain things and be like,
but I feel like even before that, even when we first got married, you were never really like a rule follower. You were a little like, well, it's fine, you can do that, like, not it's about like little things.
Like what? Like
like there's one I can think of, but it's inappropriate. So I'll skip past it.
I'm dying to hear this after the podcast.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
Well, let me think of. I can't really think of any off the top of
this
my head.
This is a PG
but you would
podcast,
always,
even though
PG.
I said a
you
bad
said the
title.
F word. Which, I mean, anyway, I feel like there's instances where I can probably recall, but I always felt like that about you. You weren't like, this is what they said we need to do, let's do it. You're all kind of like, well, we could do this thing, or we could do, they said not to walk there, but we'll be fine, kind of thing. Yeah. It's not like big things where it's like illegal.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean,
maybe some of them are.
Is it a good? Is it my perspective? Is
no? I liked it because I think it brought me out of my shell a lot, because I'm such a rule follower, which is very usually unlikely. Well, I'm the second of 4 kids. And usually I feel like first kids are the rule followers, right?
I don't know. Yeah, well, Jack, based off of Jack, I think
typically they are. But in my family, it was the opposite. My sister was a total rebel. I was a rule follower. I don't know if that like trickled down because she wasn't a rule follower. So it kind of like the weight was on my shoulders. I don't know. Or if it's just my personality. It had to have been a lot of nurture as well as nature, right? And where was I going with this? I growing up, I was always a rule follower. I could not break any rules. I felt so guilty. Right. And so meeting you and like it's like not everything is black and white. There's so much gray area in life.
And then when you ask why is that rule there?
And then it made me question things, which I loved, because I never questioned anything growing up in my whole life. Like until I think we got married, and even over the past like these 10 years that we've been married, I've now slowly been questioning like the things, just everything, which is good. You should question things in your life. I never did. And so when we got married, it just was very like eye-opening to me in a good way. And it made me come out of my shell of like, okay, you don't have to like follow this thing that this rule that somebody set.
Some human told another human.
Some human told another human.
Some adult told another adult what they can or cannot do.
And now it's like I'm seeing that, but I never questioned anything ever. And so it's been a kind of interesting to come out of my shell.
I'm glad it's a good thing, because I don't want to be a bad influence on you.
You're such a bad influence.
No,
in the best way.
We should put leather jackets on and fire up a cigarette.
We can call ourselves the baddies.
Yeah, it's Bad Bitch O'Clock. All right. Yes. Speaking of Bad Bitch O'Clock, folks, thanks for listening. This has been a really fun podcast. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye.